creators, it's Claire and it's time for a rug update because I have finally admitted this method is not working. Look at that. That is folded in half. I have a fair amount missing in order to be able to make it sit flat. I have ironed this to within an inch of its life and stretched and pressed, and I'm just going to have to admit that it's not working out. So I do still have other methods though. Now I'm going to preface this by saying I am not a person who crochets. I do not know how to crochet. So do not use this as crochet instructions, but I'm going to try a crocheted version, and this is a very crude attempt that I've had in the past 5 minutes or so. And I'm just trying to decide, really, the center section you can see is plaited and then the outer layers aren't, and I think it still does look better with that plait, kind of neater, like you're not seeing the raw edges that you're seeing here. I don't want to sew again. It's because I've sewn this a couple of times. If you've seen the previous videos, you've seen me have a couple of attempts, and I'm not sure what I need to change in order to make it flat. So rather than start again and potentially end up in the same situation, I'm going to try a different approach. The thing I like a lot is the thickness of it. So because this is working the yarn in a different way, it is much thicker. And I was thinking this, you can't really tell you're standing on a rug. This, you can definitely tell you are standing on a rug. So I will take all of this out, which will be very satisfying because it rips very easily. And then I will give this a red hot crack. This came together actually really quite quickly, so I'm hopeful that I can make some good progress, but I will have probably to do some plaiting still. So join me for, I'm not even sure what part this is, attempt number 2 at making a round rug from recycled yarn. You'll just have to imagine the rest finished because I've lost patience with unpicking, but this is where I'm at. I have a few mishaps where threads have come unfastened on themselves. The first batch seemed a little bit more shreddable than the second, so I'm going to start with the purple and see how crochet goes. I have an end here and I have pulled off a bunch of loose threads, so let's see how this would work. So I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to do the most basic thing that I can, starting with the slip knot. I've watched 2 videos on YouTube. I am now an expert in finger crochet. So I've got my slip knot, no idea which way it's supposed to go. It's going to probably just get woven into the end, so I might make it a little bit longer, a little bit further from the end. And I'm going to go over and through a bunch of times until I have enough to go around the center of the circle that I want to make. I don't want it too long. Trying to keep the loops a consistent size. feeling that. So I'm going to loop this around back on itself. There's probably a technical place to put this, but we are winging it. I will say that probably multiple times. Not unhappy with that. It sits quite nicely. And I do have this end in here that I will work through the center and kind of just disguise if there's a small hole. Now this is not the technique I saw on YouTube. There was all sorts of instructions about double crochet and things I did not understand. But I did have an idea that inside my membership Stitchable Co, we will learn to crochet. Because my co-host Leanne is an amazing crochet person, so I am sure she would be happy to teach us, but not for a while because I have a few plans yet, but it is definitely on the cards for early next year. So I'm basically just working around finding a loop, making a loop, and then dropping a loop. And if I remember to do them in that order, that it should be fine. So finding a loop, making a loop, dropping that one, and then dropping this one over. If you know the technical crochet terms for this, and I am not completely butchering it, drop them in the comments and that might help other people. And I'm not trying to make these too tight because I do want to be able to adjust it to make sure that it lays flat, which was the problem I was having before. So try not to make that mistake again. So I'm really just looking for the one that I've come through last. So that was this one, and then I'm going to move on to the next loop. There's probably an equivalent at the back, but I am kind of sticking to the ones that seem to sit on the side closest to me. So that the loops themselves kind of stretch that a little bit further. I think I'll add an extra here. I do understand a very small amount of crochet. I've tried multiple times to learn, but being a knitter, even just the way you hold the yarn, I find quite hilarious. But because I've not got a tool with this, it feels easier. I don't have a metal rod that I have ideas what I should be doing, like a needle. What am I feeling? Where am I going here? So I am going to put another one in. If you want the real instructions on this, I just googled finger crochet a circle basically, and that gave me the inspiration. So it's coming together pretty quickly and it's really nice and chunky. So let's see how we go. It does feel pretty flat. It's going well then. It's not quite the finished rug I was hoping to share with you, but it is lovely and flat. Maybe not that round, but does fold in half with a nice straight line. The thing I ended up with that I wasn't expecting was lots of re-plaiting to do. This section kind of just fell apart a little bit, so I decided the best thing to do would be to re-plait that. And I did have a bit of a challenge transitioning from the thicker purple, black and white to the kind of thinner blue, white and grey. So the re-plaiting helped me to even that out. So I have that to do. I am at, what's that, 10 inches. So I have a way to go, but I'm absolutely loving this technique. I will bring you one, hopefully, final video to show you when this is done and recap all the stages. If you haven't checked out the other videos already, go and do that. And I will see you with the finished round recycled rag rug.